My name is Zach Arnold. I'm a Hollywood film and television editor, a documentary director, father of two, an American Ninja Warrior in training, and the creator of Optimize Yourself. For over 10 years now, I have obsessively searched for every possible way to optimize my own creative and athletic performance, and now I'm here to shorten your learning curve. Whether you're a creative professional who edits, writes, or directs, you're an entrepreneur, or even if you're a weekend warrior, I strongly believe that you can be successful without sacrificing your health or your sanity in the process. You ready? Let's design the optimized version of you. Hello and welcome to the Optimize Yourself podcast. If you're a brand new optimizer, I welcome you and I sincerely hope that you enjoy today's conversation. If you are inspired to take action after listening today, why not tell a friend about this show and help spread the love? And if you're a longtime listener and Optimizer OG, welcome back. Whether you're brand new or you're a seasoned vet, if you have just 10 seconds today, it would mean the world to me if you clicked the subscribe button in your podcast app of choice. Because the more people that subscribe, the more that iTunes and the other platforms can recognize this show, and thus the more people that you and I can inspire to step outside their comfort zones to reach their greatest potential. And now on to today's show, which, to be honest, is going to be a bit of an experiment. As a longtime listener, you already know how much I love to do in-depth interviews on a variety of topics, whether that's allowing everyday people to share their personal and their inspirational journeys, or industry experts and world-renowned authors who share their expertise to help you optimize a specific area of your life. But today, what I want to do instead is give you an insider's glimpse into the world of my Optimizer coaching and mentorship program and what we call the hot seat. What you're going to hear today is a recording of an actual live session with an Optimizer student where on the hot seat, we tackle various questions, whether that's about career transitions, productivity, workflows, networking, burnout, habit formation, resumes and websites, and any other number of work-life challenges that students bring to the table as they navigate their own paths toward success. In the following hot seat session, community member Max Waller is looking to gain some clarity on his career path so that he can be confident he's taking the right steps towards his goals. As we worked through several possible different steps that he could take, it became clear to him what the right step was. Listen in how we reverse engineer this entire process from the end goal all the way back to the smallest next action so you too can apply the same process to your own goals for both clarity and confidence moving forwards. If you find these sessions valuable, we're going to be sharing Hot Seat Fridays with you every week that are going to be jam-packed with practical, real-world strategies that you can easily apply to your own lifestyle and career to send you off with an action plan for the next Monday ahead. And if after listening to this, you're wishing that you could schedule your own hot seat session, I invite you to join our community of optimizers, where you're going to find all the support and connections you need to optimize every aspect of your life. Just go to optimizeyourself.me/optimizer to learn more about the various coaching and mentorship options available so you and I can start working together today. All right, without further ado, here is today's Hot Seat Friday session with Max Waller, made possible today by our amazing sponsors Evercast and ErgoDriven, who are featured just a bit later in today's episode. And as a quick reminder to subscribe so you don't miss future interviews just like this one, visit optimizeyourself.me/podcast. So what is our hot seat topic for today?
So I'm not sure if it's that I did my goal wrong or if it's that I don't have enough clarity on the one thing, but I've been trying to sort of just go off and workshop my macro goal a little bit like we had talked about before. And I think I have it in a really good place. I'm pretty confident about the wording of it and intention behind it. I'm pretty confident that it's very stupid, as you would put it. But so basically what I did, because I'm level 99 obliger, I started there and then I was like, well, I'm here. So I'm just going to go through every module because that's how my brain works. And Sunday, I'm wrapping up 7, the second half of 7 that updated all the Trello and stuff. And I'm looking and I'm kind of getting analysis paralysis, which I know in 5, you were like, don't go through and list everything. But I did that too, because I figured having, done the whole process once before, I was like, well, I know I know what it's going to look like when I get out on the other side. But essentially, now I have this Trello board, and I'm not sure if it's that I didn't have the correct one thing or if I wasn't clear enough. So I went back and I broke everything down. I tried to break everything down even further. And I think where I got stuck was when I was putting together a new ideal weekly calendar. My first one thing was to sort of revisit my routine. And I ended up removing it from the Trello board because when I started putting things on the calendar, I was like, oh no, I'm now just putting everything on here, pump the brakes, right? I think I may have gotten a little shiny object syndrome. I may have just gotten unfocused in that regard. And I ended up just kind of the calendar it's out of control is probably not the right way to describe it, but it felt like it was too many different things, but it's kind of like this weird meta issue because my first thing was establishing my routine, and all of the things in my routine, I would say 60% of them I already do. And then the other 40% was stuff that applied to the next one thing, which was mental health and well-being. So like just looking at it from a top-down perspective, just to give you an example, one of those outlying things that I haven't been doing regularly that I wanted to add to my routine was making music just for myself, just for my enjoyment. And I put that onto my calendar, but then I recognized the amount of time that I wanted to commit to that. And I recognized right away that I was like, well, this is going to make me feel really good. And it's going to be awesome to have things to share with friends and family and stuff. And it'll be good for my portfolio, et cetera. But, and as you know, sorry, I didn't clarify this for everybody else, but the macro goal for me was figuring out the goal, which was to determine if being a composer's assistant or being a composer is the right path for me. By September 5th was the date that I put on. So the actual macro goal is build the necessary network and pursue the right opportunities to determine that. And essentially, what I'm getting at is that when I looked at all of this on my calendar, I recognized immediately that I'm not going to make any steps in determining which is the right path if my outreach is not my priority. But I know that my outreach can't be my priority if I am emotionally not at full capacity. So I kind of got into this weird feedback loop where I was like, oh no, which one do I put first? And I couldn't figure it out. So I was hoping to come in here and get some clarity because I'm assuming I'm asking the wrong question. So I would love to figure out what the right question is.
And scene. All right. So that's a lot. That is a lot. So I'm gonna break this down and simplify it as much as possible. Macro goal is currently, and like we said, it's a little bit meta. You're one of those where the macro goal is to figure out the macro goal. And you've decided by you said September 5th?
Yeah.
So by September 5th, you are going to have done all of the research and outreach and investigation necessary to be confident that I'm either pursuing a composing path or an assistant composing path. Yeah. And as we've talked about, it's not for life. It's just next. Yeah. By September 5th, I'm going to confidently pursue one of the other paths, and I'm not sure which is the right fit. And if we're going to break it down in the most simplistic fashion, the two things that you've alluded to, or perhaps the three that you've alluded to figure out what to focus on next are: one, outreach; two, just kind of getting yourself in the right emotional space to do the outreach; and number three, building a regular routine. But you didn't totally specify what that routine was. Is it a morning routine, evening routine, exercise routine? Like, what's the routine that you said I've already done 60% of, but I want to build more of it? Give me a little bit more specificity.
So what I meant by that was that the first time going through Focus Yourself and having established a pretty solid routine, the thing that was the most handy for me was the habit stacking. So I don't necessarily distinguish between my morning and my evening routine, which may also be part of the problem. But to me, it's like at a certain time of day, I wake up and for my own weird reasons, right, I floss and then I brush and then immediately I shower because I know that in my brain, that's just what makes the most sense. And that's how my day goes every day. But for whatever reason, I don't really distinguish that between, oh yeah, this means I need to do yoga at 8:15 tonight, which I think is the point of the habit stacking. But yeah, so to me, it's all just one thing. And I started adding maybe things that shouldn't be in the routine column to the routine column. And so maybe that
might be part of it. So let's do it this way, because we're not going to be able to dive in and break this down piece by piece over the course of an hour. And we want to try and get through it in about 15 minutes. What I want you to do is think about, if the goal is that by September 5th, I will have taken the actions necessary to have confidently chosen to confidently choose either the composing path or the assistant composing path. I want to talk about the general categories, and I want to make sure that we're very clearly organizing them. One of them is outreach. You know that outreach is incredibly important to both assistant composers and to composers, so you can ask them questions and you can learn more about the process. What's going to most likely fulfill my creative needs? What's going to most likely fill my lifestyle needs? All things that we've talked about in past sessions.
Yeah.
So outreach, one category.
Yeah.
What's another category? You said kind of a little bit vaguely, like my emotional approach to it. But if we call that something more concrete that's actionable, what is that category called?
Manage mental health and well-being.
Got it. Okay. So managing mental health and well-being, that's an action verb. I'm going to manage. So doing outreach, one category. Managing mental health and well-being, another category.
Yeah.
Give me another category that's actionable that has to do with you achieving this macro goal.
I have organized finances.
Organized finances. Excellent. What's another one? I want to see if we can get to 5.
Okay. I have optimized studio workflow, meaning like all this stuff. And then I have create, which is maybe too vague, but it was meant to be, creating music for myself for pleasure.
And then how does the routine fit in? Is that because again, I want it to be actionable. Is it build? Is it improve routine? And again, we can get more specific, but how does routine factor into this goal?
I had it as improve routine when I initially did it. And like I said, I took it off because I realized I was putting other things into that category that shouldn't necessarily be there, but my mind was saying, oh, well, once you have the routine down, all of this other stuff is going to be so much easier, because the downtime between, it doesn't take a lot to start, creating something for yourself, but I believe it takes a certain fortitude to finish it. And I think that fortitude is, established by whatever your emotional state is. I don't think it really has anything to do with tiredness, because I've created in all different kinds of physical states, but that's kind of what I was thinking there. I was like, I know that if my routine is spot on, and I'm nailing it, then I know that it's just going to be so much easier when that hour rolls around that I wanted to just make something for me to just sit down and do it.
Got it. Okay. So I think I know where to zero in on this. I have a couple of questions. Probably a big surprise that I have more questions, right? So the next 2 questions I have are, and you can kind of answer these together because it's kind of like question 1 and 1A. How does creating and improving your studio workflow specifically lead to you deciding between composing and assistant composing?
The area I struggle in outreach is feeling, I think, bold. And when I create on a regular basis, for whatever reason, I don't have any trouble feeling like I can be bold and like I can be myself, I guess.
My sincerest apologies for the interruption in the middle of this interview. But if you are a content creator or you work in the entertainment industry, not only is the following promo not an interruption, but listening has the potential to change your life. Because collaborating with Evercast is that powerful. Here's a brief excerpt from a recent interview that I did with Evercast co-founders Brad Thomas and award-winning editor Roger Barton.
Living this lifestyle of a feature film editor has really had an impact on me. So I was really looking for something to push back against all of these lifestyle infringements that are imposed on us, both by schedules and expectations. When you guys demoed Evercast for me that first time, my jaw hit the floor. I'm like, oh my God, this is what I have been waiting for a decade.
I also had the same reaction when I first saw Evercast. 2 words came to mind: game changer.
Our goal, honestly, is to become the Zoom for creatives, whatever it is you're streaming, whether it's editorial, visual effects, Pro Tools for music composition, live shot cameras. It's consistent, audio and video, lip sync, always stays in sync. Whether you're in a live session where you're getting that feedback immediately, or you can't get it immediately, so you record the session and you can share those clips with people on the production team where there's no room for any confusion. It's like, this is exactly what the director wants. This is exactly what the producer wants.
What matters most to me is it makes the entire process more efficient, which then translates to us as creatives who spend way too much time in front of computers. We get to shut it down and we get to go spend time with our friends and family.
The biggest complaint, and I'm sure you guys have heard this many, many times, this looks amazing, I just can't afford it.
Tesla had to release the Model S before they released the Model 3. So by the end of the year, we are going to be releasing a sub $200 version a month of Evercast for the freelancer and indie creatives. Anyone who is a professional video creator outside of Hollywood.
I think what we've learned over the last few months is that this technology can translate to better lives for all of us that give us more flexibility and control while still maintaining the creativity, the creative momentum, and the quality of work.
I cannot stress this enough. Evercast is changing the way that we collaborate. If you value your craft, your well-being, and spending quality time with the ones you love, Evercast now makes that possible for you and me. To listen to the full interview and learn about the amazing potential that Evercast has to change the way that you work and live, visit optimizeyourself.me/Evercast. Now back to today's interview. So for you, part of outreach is having the confidence in your work that you can actually reach out to somebody. And improving your studio workflow would help improve the quality of your work and make you feel more bold and more confident to reach out. Is that how these pieces connect?
That's kind of where I was going with it. Yeah.
Because in my mind, there's a couple of ways to look at it. One is you improving your studio workflow is directly related to the version of yourself that you pitch. Mm-hmm. Meaning you're more confident, you're more bold, you're more outgoing and more yourself, which improves the quality of your outreach. But then there's the other side of it. And I'm not saying this is you at all. I'm just going to point out kind of the two ends of the spectrum. The other side of it is, well, I just need something to distract me from the fact that I don't want to do my outreach. So I'm going to keep improving my studio workflow and organize my studio instruments and change the synth thing. And because then it makes you feel like you're doing something. Right. So you don't have to do the outreach. Which one is it for you?
So I think it's actually maybe even closer to the second one, because you know this, and you know some other people on this call know this, but I've had really great successes with outreach. I've had the affirmation from doing it. I think that it's the confusion between, and I don't even know if confidence is the right word, because I feel like you can fake confidence, but I think it's like wanting to do more than one thing at a time, because not being in touch with my creative self, whether that's just making music for me or painting or whatever, the things that I do just outside of, my career are the things that really make me feel grounded. And I guess from a spiritual perspective, that is it. But then I guess what I come to in my mind when I think about that, when I think about if I'm just delaying the outreach and I'm just kind of putting it off because I'm scared to do it, I think that haven't I sort of already in a way answered the question, am I ever going to understand what it means to be a composer's assistant? Because I've never done it in an official capacity if I don't actually do it or speak to somebody who has done it. So then I guess, and this is probably not something we're going to figure out right now, but I guess it leads to another question, which is then have I just solved my macro goal,
Right. What I think we've pointed out, and I'm not saying this is the definitive answer, but it's something that I want to plant the seed and I want you to ruminate on a little bit more. My feeling is that you improving your studio workflow and also creating new music or whatever it is that you're talking about creating, whether it's painting or art, whatever your creative process is. I'm not saying that both of those things aren't incredibly important. I don't think that they're directly related to you achieving your goal.
Yeah.
I think that there's something separate. I think that what's directly connected to you achieving your goal of deciding which path is the right fit, outreach is one. Managing your mental health and well-being so you can improve your confidence when you reach out is number two. And I think in order to make those pieces fall into place, it's making sure that your routine is solid enough such that you feel the momentum to do it. But I think the problem is that you're not specific enough about what routine. Saying my routine is really vague. So I want to break it down. And I know that you haven't done it this way yet, but I think it might help you clarify. What specifically is the routine that's going to lead to you having the right mental state, emotionally, physically, mentally, to say, yes, I'm going to do this outreach and I'm going to crush it and I'm going to build these relationships. And by September 5th, I'm going to know which path is right for me. Of all the routines, if we break them down, which one leads you on this path the most?
Well, I think the parts of it look like exercise and meditation.
When do those happen for you?
Different times a day. I meditate in the morning usually, and then I exercise usually in the early afternoon.
And which one of those is going to more directly become a habit stack that leads to you getting in front of your computer in the right mental state and emotionally ready and confident to do your outreach?
I feel like exercise, because I feel like if I try to do it before my morning routine, after meditating, before I do my personal morning routine, that I'm going to get derailed because I'm going to overthink it. And exercise, I usually feel really fired up afterwards. So,
all right. So now you see what I'm doing. I'm reverse engineering your dominoes. The big macro goal is I have the confidence that I'm choosing one path or the other. I don't know what it is yet, but as of September 5th, I'm either pursuing the composing path or the assistant composing path. In order to have that confidence, I need to have done enough outreach to get my many questions answered about how the process works. As an assistant composer, would my creative needs still be met? Is it an invigorating learning experience, or am I a glorified gopher that's basically just doing Pro Tools outputs and getting people coffee? I don't know which one it is yet, so I don't know if it meets my creative needs. Lifestyle-wise, which one is a better fit for me being able to maintain a morning routine or being able to exercise? You have so many unanswered questions.
Right.
In order to get those questions answered, you must do outreach.
Right.
In order for you to do the outreach, which is a big domino for you to knock over right now, you need to be in the right mental state and emotionally ready to send those with confidence. And from what you've alluded to, it sounds like coming off of exercise is what puts you in the right mental and emotional state to confidently send your outreach.
Yes.
So you could say exercise is my one thing, but I have a feeling that's also a relatively difficult domino to knock over if you haven't taken the right steps in your morning routine such that you're setting yourself up with the habit stack to be ready to do the exercise. Would that be correct?
It would, but it's already a habit. All of that is already a habit. So the meditation, not as much, but the morning routine and then the exercise in the early afternoon, I do that every day. And
okay, so then those are not things that we have to work on or improve. So what we need to do is we need to reverse engineer and find the one widget, so to speak, or the one checkbox in this workflow, knowing that the exercise habit already works. What's stopping you between finishing exercise and sending outreach? What's the piece that isn't working?
Not feeling like my outreach is specifically directed enough that I know exactly, like this is a thing that we figured out where I know the workflow that works best for me is to spend one day a week doing the spreadsheet and then another couple days doing research and then a draft and then sending it. I think feeling like I don't have a overarching, feeling like I don't have a micro goal within my outreach, maybe, that pertains to a larger macro goal. And so now I'm wondering if I should just turn the macro goal into getting an assistant job, and then the outreach becomes a micro goal of that. Because I'm a firm believer that we only regret what we don't do. And so I'm wondering now if that will kind of light a fire under my ass and turn the outreach into more of a project itself rather than like a discovery thing,
All right, so now we're getting to something. Maybe, and again, I don't think we have to change the goal, so to speak. The goal is still that by September 5th, I want to confidently know whether pursuing the assistant path is a better fit than pursuing the composing path. There's no better way to do that than to just get in the trenches and do it and find out what is it actually like. So then maybe the next thing you need to pursue, instead of getting a bunch of questions answered, is I just need to find an assistant job and see what it's like.
Right.
Knowing that you're not saying I am an assistant composer and it's all that I do and that's my life and that's my career. I'm just going to experiment. I want to see if this is a good fit for me or not.
Yeah. I think that's the kind of learner I am anyway,
So if that's the case, then the missing piece was I didn't know why I was doing the outreach and the research.
Yeah.
Now you know you're doing the research and the outreach because you want to put yourself up for assistant composing jobs just because you want to learn and you want to experiment and see, is this the right fit for me or not?
Totally. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's why when I looked at it and saw all the different things on the calendar, I got overwhelmed because my subconscious was telling me that none of this has anything to do with what my goal is, really.
Right. And you might find that just in the process of looking for an assistant composing job or looking at job requirements or doing interviews, you're like, oh, I already know this isn't right for me. Or conversely, whoa, this is way more than I thought it was going to be. What a cool learning experience. Now I'm confident this is the right path. But instead of kind of, watching a few exercise videos and looking at the website, well, maybe this is the right training for me. Maybe not. Maybe I should reach out to 10 different people that have done this kind of exercise before and see what they think. It's like, screw it. I'm just going to sign up for a class and I'm going to do it for a month and see if I hate it or not.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think another thing too is, and I'm sure other people here have experienced this, but you notice that once you establish the one thing, and budget your time sort of around that one thing, having that more free time leads to you wanting to also budget that time, which, if it's really important to me and I know how I feel about it, then I'll inadvertently almost spend some of that time doing just creative stuff.
Yeah. So I think what we've identified is that where you're stuck, at least for now, was you just didn't see a purpose for the outreach because it wasn't enough for you to really understand, it's just getting a question or two answered going to really work for me to make this decision? Does it lead towards the goal? I think for you, I just maybe have to kind of do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's going to be the place for you to focus next. And there would still be a little bit more reverse engineering to really figure out what's the one thing to get that started. What's the first domino to knock over and start the domino effect. We don't have time to go into that any further today. But hopefully this at least gives you a little bit of clarity about how you can better organize and simplify this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Before closing up today's show, I would love to ask for just a couple additional minutes of your time and attention to introduce you to one of my new favorite products created by my good friend Kit Perkins, who you may recognize as creator of the Topomat. Here is a brief excerpt from a recent interview that I did with Ergo-Driven co-founder and CEO Kit Perkins, talking about his latest product, New Standard Whole Protein.
I'm into health and fitness generally, but I want it to be simple and straightforward. About a year and a half ago, I started adding collagen into my protein shakes. And man, the benefits were like more dramatic than any supplement I've ever seen. So I thought, if I could just get this down to coming out of one jar and it's ingredients that I know I can trust, and you just put it in water and you don't have to think about it.
When people think of protein powders, they think, well, I don't want to get big and bulky. And that's not what this is about. To me, this is about repair.
So a big part of what we're talking about here is you are what you eat. Your body's constantly repairing and rebuilding, and the only stuff it can use to repair and rebuild is what you've been eating. Unfortunately, as the years have gone by, every day getting out of bed, it's like, 2 or 3 creaks and pops in the first couple steps, and that I thought you just sort of lived with now. But yeah, once starting the collagen daily or near daily, it's just gone. So for us, job 1A here was make sure it's high quality, and that's grass-fed, 100% pasture-raised cows. And then the second thing, if you're actually going to do it every day, it needs to be simple, it needs to taste good.
Well, my goal is that for anybody that is a creative professional like myself that's stuck in front of a computer, number one, they're doing it standing on a Topomat. And number two, they've got a glass of New Standard Protein next to them so they can just fuel their body, fuel their brain. So you and I, my friend, one edit station at a time are going to change the world.
And even better for your listeners, with code OPTIMIZE on either a one-time purchase or that first subscribe and save order, 50% off. So if you do that subscribe and save, that's 20% off and 50% off with code OPTIMIZE. That's a fantastic deal.
If you're looking for a simple and affordable way to stay energetic, focused, and alleviate the chronic aches and pains that come from living at your computer, I recommend New Standard Whole Protein because it's sourced from high-quality ingredients that I trust and it tastes great. To place your first order, visit optimizeyourself.me/newstandard and use the code OPTIMIZE for 50% off your first order. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Hot Seat Fridays. If you find this new format valuable, please reach out and let us know. Just go to optimizeyourself.me/contact to leave your honest feedback. And if after listening, you are wishing that you could schedule your own hot seat session, I invite you to join our community of optimizers, where you are going to find all of the support and connections you need to optimize every aspect of your life. Just go to optimizeyourself.me/optimizer to learn more about the various coaching and mentorship options available so you and I can start working together. And as a quick reminder to subscribe so you don't miss future interviews just like this one, please visit optimizeyourself.me/podcast. And a special thanks to our sponsors Evercast and ErgoDriven for making today's interview possible. To learn more about how to collaborate remotely without missing a frame and to get your real-time demo of Evercast in action, visit optimizeyourself.me/Evercast. And to learn more about ErgoDriven and their brand new product that I am super excited about, New Standard Whole Protein, visit optimizeyourself.me/New Standard. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, healthy, and sane, and be well.